everyone. I'm Ethan Liu with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. President-elect Chien-ying has taken to social media to throw his support behind a Taiwanese boxer competing in Paris who has been caught in the middle of a gender controversy. Yu-Ting and another Algerian competitor have been cleared to compete by the Olympics Committee despite previously failing a gender test. The decision to let them compete has triggered a fierce debate online, with some high-profile figures weighing in. Joyce reports.
After being cleared to fight for Olympic gold, 28-year-old Taiwanese boxer and two-time world champion Yu-Ting should be focusing on the competition, but is instead embroiled in another unwelcome controversy over her gender. Now that includes renowned author of Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, who's previously angered many with her outspoken stance against transgender rights. Rowling posting on X, "What will it take to end this insanity? A female boxer killed?" It's a reaction to the International Olympic Committee's decision to clear Ling and Algerian boxer Imani Khalif to compete after both were disqualified at the World Championships last year, having failed gender tests administered by the International Boxing Association, a federation no longer recognized by the Olympics.
We all have a responsibility, by the way, to try to dial down this and not turn it into some kind of witch hunt. These are regular athletes who've competed for many years in boxing. They're entirely eligible. They are women on their passports, and that, I think, is enough said from me.
The Chinese Taipei Olympic Committee has emphasized that Lin's eligibility complies with international rules. Throughout her career, Lin has always competed as a woman and does not identify as transgender. It's a position Lin's team has maintained ever since she was stripped of her World Championship bronze medal last year, a disqualification that Lin said she had never dealt with before. While the question of whether transgender women should be allowed to compete in women's sports is fiercely debated, with critics citing safety concerns to female competitors, it's an issue that's brought invasive speculation into many female athletes and their bodies. South African sprinter and double Olympic champion Caster Semenya is still fighting a more than 5-year battle in court to overturn World Athletics rules that force female athletes with differences in sexual development to medically reduce natural hormone levels.
My last chance winning Olympics was 2016. So Paris Olympics is not really my goal. My goal is more on winning my battles, against the authorities. It's me fighting for what's right.
As for Lin, the shot to compete in Paris is a high point in her 15-year boxing career. Lin has fought among the best, including two-time British Olympic gold medalist Nicola Adams in 2016. Though Lin lost to Adams, speaking to TaiwanPlus in the lead-up to Paris, Lin described the sacrifices she's made to stay motivated to bring home Taiwan's first gold medal in the sport she loves.
再重来一次，让我投胎再重来一次，我可能还是会选拳击。我就是要好好把握巴黎奥运这场比赛，那为自己、为台湾，然后拿到一个属于我们台湾的奥运金牌。
And Lin's chance is coming up soon. She's the top seed in the women's 57-kilogram featherweight class in Paris, earning her a first-round bye, and will take on Uzbekistan's Sitora Turdybekova on Friday. Ethan Chen and Joyce Sun for TaiwanPlus.
You can watch our interview with Yu-Ting on her journey to Paris on the TaiwanPlus website. Meanwhile, Taiwanese archer Chien-ying has advanced to the round of 16 at the Paris Olympics. Lei faced off with U.S. competitor Casey Kaufhold in the women's individual round, winning 7-3. In badminton, Zhou Tianchen triumphed over Japan's Kodayo Naraoka, advancing to the quarterfinals in men's singles. It's Zhou's third consecutive time making it this far in the games, after doing so in Rio and Tokyo. Taiwan says a $60 million deal with the United States to install the Link 16 military system should be completed by 2026. Link 16 is a military communication network that connects aircraft, satellites, and troops. Once installed, it could allow the U.S. and Taiwan to share information. Military officials say the Link 16 system would be used to upgrade Taiwan's existing fleet of F-16 fighter jets. The U.S. is set to expand limits on exports to China of semiconductor equipment made in other countries. Reuters reports that countries affected by the new rule will include Taiwan, Singapore, Israel, and Malaysia. However, chip-making equipment from Japan, the Netherlands, and South Korea would be exempt. The Biden administration has been clamping down on high-tech exports to China amid national security concerns and fierce competition with Beijing. Labor groups are marking the 40th anniversary of Taiwan's basic employment law with calls for better working conditions and protections. Zhang Van Trist reports.
还我7天假，还我7天假，增加退休金，增加退休金。
Workers in Taiwan have now enjoyed 40 years of protection under the Labor Standards Act, but labor activists say it's time the law got an update. They've drawn up a list of improvements they want to see. One of the most pressing of these is about the current system for overtime pay.
40年来都不曾提高过的加班费率，从现行前2小时1又1/3提高到2倍，后2小时1又2/3提高到3倍。
Activists also want 7 former public holidays to be reinstated.
增加国定假日，不只是增加劳工休息跟与家人相处的机会，更可以透过廉价的设计来带动台湾的
There are also calls for higher pensions and greater protections, including for migrant workers. These include a demand that employers who owe workers more than a certain amount in wages should be barred from leaving the country. Business groups say at least some of these demands are impractical.
一直要提高到2倍，那我认为有很多产业能不能接受还不知道。 2倍是不合理的啦。台湾的产业还没达到那个2倍的产业，还有很多产业是没有办法生存下去的。
And the government is striking a cautious tone on any legal reforms.
修法的各项的意见，那其实劳动部都有持续在收集大家的意见。各项的意见的话，都要有所共识来去做，才有可能去做调整吧。
But labor activists say they're determined to get what they want, and they're preparing to go to politicians from all party backgrounds to make sure their demands are heard. Luffy Li and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thousands of people have gathered in Iran's capital for the funeral of Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh, who was killed in a strike in Tehran on Wednesday. Iran has threatened a harsh response to the killing, which it blames on Israel. Rosie Gweninger reports.
Outrage across the Middle East after the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, the top political leader of the Palestinian militant group Hamas. Haniyeh was killed by a targeted airstrike in the Iranian capital Tehran, just hours after attending the inauguration of the country's new president. The assassination has increased fears of a broader conflict in the Middle East, with member countries of the United Nations calling for a peaceful solution.
We fear the region is at the brink of all-out war. The international community should make all diplomatic efforts to avert this.
Haniyeh's assassination came less than 24 hours after an Israeli strike in Beirut killed the top military commander of Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. That in retaliation for a rocket strike on the Israeli-controlled Golan Heights. Protesters in Tehran mourning Haniyeh's death, demanding reprisal. A call that Ali Khamenei, the country's supreme leader, says he will heed. Like Hamas, Iran blames Israel, with Khamenei vowing harsh punishment for the breach on their territorial integrity. Israel has neither claimed nor denied responsibility, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned against any retaliative aggression.
מאז התקיפה בביירות נשמעים איומים מכל עבר. אנחנו ערוכים לכל תרחיש ונעמוד מלוכדים ונחושים מול כל איום. ישראל תגבה מחיר כבד מאוד על כל תוקפנות נגדנו מכל זירה שהיא.
Iran and Israel have exchanged blows before, one of the most significant in April this year, when Iran sent a barrage of missiles towards Israel in response to the killing of senior Iranian military figures while in Syria. Tensions between the two countries have been stoked by the outbreak of war in Gaza between Israeli forces and Iranian-backed Hamas. Since hostilities began in October,
More than 39,000 Palestinians have been killed, and over 100 Israeli hostages remain held in Gaza. A ceasefire deal was being negotiated, but the assassination of Hania, Hamas's negotiating leader, will complicate that process.
I don't see any meaningful, long-standing solution on the horizon because it looks like the Israeli leadership is trying to address its broader security challenges across the region vis-a-vis Iran, and is choosing to not prioritize ending the Gaza war and securing the release of its hostages. And that tells us exactly where we are.
As funeral prayers begin for Hania in Iran, the escalating tensions in the Middle East have left global leaders scrambling for diplomatic solutions. But with the death of two of its militant foes in less than 24 hours, Israel is facing more than the wrath of mourners. Alex Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Israel also says it has confirmed that Hamas military commander Mohammed Deif was killed in a strike in mid-July. The attack by Israel killed more than 90 other people. Hamas has not made any immediate comments to the latest announcement. Meanwhile, the UN says Palestinians detained by Israel have been subjected to torture and mistreatment. It's released a report on the alleged abuses, which are described as widespread.
Detainees say they have been held in cage-like facilities, stripped naked for prolonged periods, wearing only diapers. They tell of prolonged blindfolding, deprivation of food, sleep and water, and being subjected to electric shocks and being burnt with cigarettes.
The UN's Human Rights Office says that Israel has arbitrarily detained thousands of Palestinians since October 7th, when Hamas carried out a surprise attack on Israel. The UN's findings could be used by prosecutors at the International Criminal Court who are looking into crimes by both sides. Israeli prison authorities say they operate within the law and are not aware of the abuses described in the UN report. People living in cities in northern Taiwan may be experiencing hotter summers than people in other areas. As city planners work to curb the north's expanding heat islands, the government is also going after employers who don't offer their workers proper shelter on especially hot days. Wesley Lewis reports.
Summers in Taipei are getting hotter. That's what urban development experts say. They've identified heat islands, areas that experience higher temperatures, in northern Taiwan's densely populated cities, and they say they are expanding.
台北、新北跟桃园的这个热岛已经透过两个盆地还有大汉溪的这个河谷已经连接在一起，要透过跨区域、跨城市的这个治理共同去解决高温化的问题。
Officials from the Environment, Health, and Labor Ministries held a joint seminar to address the rising temperatures. The Environment Ministry says temperatures in Taipei may increase by another 0.5 degrees to 2 degrees Celsius in the next 20 years, which they say could pose a threat to public health.
世界卫生组织的资料，它从2000年初2000到2004的有关高温相关的死亡的话，我们最近2017到2020年的增加了85%，其实对我们的冲击是非常非常大的。
The Labor Ministry says they'll fine employers more than $9,000 if they fail to provide workers with shelter when the heat index hits the highest level. The Taipei city government has also invested in infrastructure projects to provide residents with more shade and ventilation.
基地里面的水率的降温，还有我们基地里面建筑物的节能减碳，整体的都市的绿色基盘。
As human activity exacerbates the effects of climate change, Taiwan's government says it's pushing for more green energy. But think tank Ember says over 80% of Taiwan's energy still comes from fossil fuels, despite the country's 2050 net zero emission goal. For now, as summer temperatures in and around Taipei continue to rise, residents are advised to stay hydrated and avoid prolonged exposure to the sun on hot days. Klein Wong and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, we leave you with images of giant panda Ding Ding celebrating her 7th birthday at Moscow Zoo. I'm Ethan. Take care, and I'll see you next time.